welcome back to Heart Matters with James and Jessica Carter. We are on our season finale.
Yes.
I know some of y'all are saddened, but we are super excited because we have a lot of other things in store for you guys. But not only is this our season finale, but this is our 18th wedding anniversary today.
It's been a long time.
Wow. 18 years.
Long time. Sometimes she wanted to, but then we.
But then most of the time I just be wanna.
Oh.
Kiss and make up. That's how it happens.
That's okay.
Hey. 18 years of marital bliss, and we thought it would be a perfect opportunity for you guys to not only see us, but to see some other couples and their perspectives, and for us to be able to answer some of your questions. Yeah. Before we get into that, we want to introduce to you the couples that are here with us tonight. We have the Hendersons, which is they're our newlyweds. Oh, she gonna grab his beard too.
Ooh, look at that beard, look at that beard. Grab those whiskers. I was just playing.
Not the whiskers. Not the whiskers.
I was just playing.
We have the Hendersons, and then right over here to my right, we have the Chisholms. How long have y'all been married?
34 years.
34 years.
Okay.
Oh, 34 years.
No, we didn't know that.
34 years.
There you go.
Okay. I'll repeat it, but he didn't make sure that y'all know that it's 34 years. He said in the microphone, make sure the people heard it. You hear me?
Uh-huh.
So y'all know we have newlyweds.
It's been good.
As y'all can tell by the climate already, it's about to be a mess tonight, and we are so happy. We're excited. We cannot wait to get into tonight's episode, guys. So we're going to go ahead and turn it over to James.
All right, so we had some questions coming in.
All right.
We had some questions. Hey, look, this is going to get a little hot.
It's an inside joke, y'all. Y'all know what's going on.
But for real, no, this is going to get a little bit hot, guys. These questions are intense. So do not be afraid, because the viewers love the authentic nature of, who we are and what we do as far as talking about couples and how long we've been together. We got 34, we got, newlyweds. So we're going to have fun and get into this. All right, so the first question. We're going to go around the table. We're going to start with the you guys, the newlyweds, and then we're going to go around and answer the question. So the first question is, what's one thing you wish you could change about the way marriage is portrayed in media or society?
You winning?
Oh, man. So, okay, hold on. Repeat the question.
And it starts. That's okay. Okay, you get a little more time.
He's trying to create a safe zone. That's what
I know, right?
Repeat that.
All right, so what's one thing you wish you could change about the way marriage is portrayed in media or society?
My goodness. Okay, so I can only say, for me, I was scared to get married. So because of all the stuff they said and all that. So I think what I would change is that there is still somebody out there for you. I would say that no matter what you may think, right?
Right.
You may think that no one's out there for you, but there could be, right? So I think the hopefulness of it all needs to be more out there rather than everybody,
That's good.
Just leave him hanging with a cliffhanger.
Like they pull out there, it's dirty.
Right, it's just
Hand it over, baby.
I think so I was married before. So I was divorced, and this is my second marriage. Me and Casey have known each other though since high school. And I had a crush on him then. Wrote him a poem when he went off to college. He still got it. No folds in it.
There you go.
It still took him about 20 years to come
Been
back
reading
around.
it all this time.
Woo! But I'm be grateful to God.
Circling back.
But I think for me, I would go on the society end of things. I think one of the things that hurt me a little bit before was that growing up in the church, you're told like marriage is only work. Work. It's not about being happy. It's about being holy.
There you go.
And so I didn't go into it expecting happiness.
Wow.
I expected everything to feel like the hardest job that I've ever taken on. And you just gotta be ready for whatever comes. And because of that, I think my standard was different. I didn't have a standard of like, I want to be with somebody who makes me happy, who's like my person. It's like whoever's your person is your person. You make it that way, you committed to God, and you'll just do it. And I think that has done a disservice to a lot of couples I know. who got married because they're like, you got this ministry and you got this ministry, and if you both committed to God, that's all you need. I tell people now, if you wouldn't be attracted to them without the Holy Ghost, don't marry them. Like,
Oh, yeah, that's a true
if
thing.
it literally takes God to step in and say,
Yes.
y'all should be together, then you gonna have them days.
Yes.
You know, so I think I wish on the church end that we would show that God wants you to be happy too.
Yes.
And there's a person that you can have fun with every day and enjoy. Like we talk all day long. Like he be at work, like he just didn't leave the house. So you what you doing? Oh, I just thought of something.
There you go.
Like he be like, I got to get off the phone. I'm at work.
That's
Oh, but
good.
hold on, wait, what you say? Like, you know, so to have that, I wasn't taught. There's no singles ministry or nothing that tells you find someone that brings you joy, that literally that joy of the Lord is your strength.
Yeah.
And this being the second time around, there's so much more I've been able to do because I got to a point I was like, it's gonna have to be make all the sense in the world to me. It's gonna have to be my best friend. I'm gonna have to be attracted on all the levels and all the things, and that has made all of the difference, I think, for me.
Well, I think that's why the social media, they need to have more of those stories, the
Yes.
successful stories,
Yes.
instead of all the bad stuff that's out there scaring people not to get married. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So.
No, so everything you guys said is amazing. And do you want to take the question?
Well, I was going to let it run to the shizzles first.
Oh,
then
okay,
we were
'cause
going to
I was
laugh. We're
gonna-
going to bounce across the table.
I
Because I want to hear what 34 years of
34
marriage
gonna say about it.
34 years is a lot of experience. And then to see what people are saying now, you know, with your 34 years, what are some things that you see that you wish people would, you know, stop promoting with marriage and start showing this side of that particular side of marriage?
Oh, now you're gonna give me the mic.
He over here all Rico Suave. Now you gonna
Get it. Hey, this is Mr. Smoother, if you guys didn't know.
No, we developed our friendship first. It wasn't even a question of marriage when we first met, because we just wanted to get to know each other, and it led to marriage. Because if you knew me 34 years ago, the last thing I wanted to do was be married, because both of our parents had a totally old school, different mentality of marriage then as opposed to what it is now. Not saying that it's any better now, but there's more openness and more discussion about things now as opposed to suppression that used to exist at an earlier time. If you had issues, they stayed within. You kept everything inside. You didn't really go to therapy. You didn't talk to anybody. You just talked to your closest friend, if that person. But sometimes you were so ashamed about your issue that you really didn't want to know in your business. And so you held a lot of stuff in, and it led to a lot of psychological issues, a lot of unhappiness, a lot of distrust. Because you didn't really know who your friends were, because there were people who just wanted some gossip. And so they would have something to talk about on the phone. So, and that was one of my things about not wanting to be married, because I've watched the emasculation of so many of my friends. Not that your boys are more important than your wife, but it's like, man, we used to talk. I ain't necessarily saying we got to go hang out and go get a drink or anything. I just want to talk to you. Well, man, I can't. What do you mean you can't? You can't talk to me anymore or whatever? And it really turned a lot of people off. Like, I don't want to live like that. I mean, if it's going to change me in that manner, then I want nothing to do with it. And she'll tell you, when we first met each other, I was attracted to her. I loved it. It wasn't nothing about being saved and the Holy Ghost and none of that. She was fine.
All right.
And I wanted to be in the vine. And I thought I stole the prettiest thing Warner Robins ever had.
Come on.
There you go.
And it was like, what I got to do, and she was just so tough to get to know, because after we got to be friends, I found out why she was so mean to me. I mean, when you befriend someone, because people are so quick to have these, what do you call it? First time you meet somebody, you fall instantly in love, and then if you don't commit to me right away, you don't mean it. You know, it does not work that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's a process.
Yep.
When I found out her backstory, her history of abuse, rape, all the different things that. Well, no, not all of it.
Okay,
But I'm
okay,
just
that's-
saying.
you do it differently.
I'm just saying. People come with issues,
Yeah.
and when you decide you want to be with somebody, you got to deal with those issues.
Yeah.
And
So let's table this question.
Let's go there.
You hit so many bullet points. Like,
Yes.
even for us right now, being married right now and
Yeah.
dealing with our parents and
Yes.
things like even with the new baby, you know, and boundaries and all of those things, it's hard. But when you break it down to the psychological things and how they hold, or you know, the season
yes,
members of the you know, the wisdom,
Yeah,
the older
exactly.
generation,
You know what?
hold it in. You know, it makes sense. You know,
That's
it
right.
makes me. You want to show grace in some ways. You know.
Yeah.
So.
So no, because I wanted to hit on what you were saying about a person coming with issues and things like that. Like, you know, when you were talking about how you were pursuing her and she was making it difficult, it almost still leads to my aspect of answering that question though. Of I want people, like, one thing I wish they would portray differently in marriage or out there in the world is that, like you said, that pursuing people is still a good thing. Like, you can't, like, just being out there, and I understand that people find people differently. You know, some people find their spouses on social media, you know, dating websites, whatever the case may be. But there's nothing like a genuine pursuit and really looking to understand that person. Because once you understand that person, I think a lot of what we see portrayed in media today about marriage is that marriage is hard work, or, oh my God, once you get married, like, you could just hang up any type of life that you thought you would have before. Like, it's just, they make marriage sound like it's just so dreadful.
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, baby, we happy. When I
have
say we're
fun.
happy all the time,
Yeah.
we're
We
happy
have
all the
fun.
time. Even in the times when we're angry and upset with each other. And like he was saying earlier, like, I just want to choke him. He does something that makes me just crack up laughing.
We have fun.
Like, even at our vow renewal earlier, he said, I'm saying all this sentimental stuff and I'm about to cry. And then he say something to make me laugh. Like, that you have to know your spouse. You have to know that person that you're married to, and the way you get to know that person is through the pursuit. Yeah. And you continue to get to know them, as you continue to pursue them throughout the marriage. And that's what creates, I believe, sustainability in marriage. And I don't think that's shown enough in the media.
And because the grace that has to be given
Yes.
too. Because pursuing, we think we've made pursuit to look like buying this, taking somebody here, you know, doing these material things that are impressive to whoever out here. Like, we went on this trip. No, it's about the heart.
Exactly.
Like, when you start pursuing someone's heart, you start studying. I remember back this thing right here. You can laugh me because I was like, how much I'm about to tell this stuff. But when we started dating, he was like, he said one time, baby, said the smoothest thing, okay? He was like, baby, I already know I could please your body if we went there. I'm trying to learn how to please your soul.
Yes.
And I said, and right then I was like, but don't. Now I won't just,
Didn't know what to say.
even more. I won't, but he was like, he's Casey's an engineer. Yeah. So he's like, needs to know how things work. He said, I need to engineer you. And that's like figuring out how this button works, doing this and learning over time and all of that and doing that for each other. Like, I think that's something that people don't show. They just say, oh, we grew apart, or, you know, we still love, but we don't like, you know, whatever you say. But it's like, because you didn't learn that pursuit isn't just going out on a date, although that could be a part of it. But it's really having conversation. You know what? I would say keeping your curiosity. So I've had some friends where I'm like, y'all struggling because y'all not curious anymore. You know too much. I already know what she's thinking. I already know what he's thinking. I already know. It's like, but how can somebody evolve with you if you don't have any more curiosity? You know everything.
Right.
So
These are good. Oh, go for it. Go for it.
Go ahead. No, I was gonna say
Add to it.
you can't compare.
Jackson, you gonna get his mic.
Yeah.
Wait.
I'm gonna give it.
When he get finished,
I
real
was going to
fast.
say one thing, and I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give it to my. I'm gonna give it to my lovely bride. But here's the thing. Don't ever compare your relationship to someone else's.
Oh,
Please, because when I look at you two, I remember our first couple of years of heavenly bliss. And that's exactly what it was. And the reason it was that way, and we had talked about it just a little bit earlier, was because we kept everybody out of our business. It really was. And I just love the fact that when we started our courtship, I've been studying her for 37 years. We've been married for 34. And I'm still learning.
Exactly. That's good.
Keep him on his toes, girl. You hear me? Yes. Keep it wondering.
If you have the same goals, aspirations, dreams, and things like that that you have
Yeah, I feel where
as
this goes.
a 20-year-old or as an 18 or as a teenager or whatever, you haven't matured.
Mercy.
But people
You know.
say that again. To somebody that hear that today.
Because at that age, it's a theoretical idea of what you expect life to be. But after you've lived it and experienced it, reality sets in. Then you start making realistic goals about what life is going to be, because I'm going to make it that way based on how it shaped me and my experience.
Like, I got something to ask now.
Thank you, sweetheart, for finally giving me this. I say this, I thank God for the spirits that I had in my childhood, because of the fact that, I had somebody to share things that I went through, and he know what to expect when he married me.
There you
He
go.
know what I was not going to accept.
Yeah.
And how I wanted things, and to this day, my husband still treat me like I'm his queen.
There you
Yes.
go. Yeah.
And it's nothing that I can't find a greater husband than one that I have.
That's good.
I went through a lot during my childhood. My mom and daddy got married at 15 and 16 years old. So imagine I went through a lot.
Yeah.
I have altogether it's 6 of us. We all close, but I got one brother that I grew up with. Well, I grew up with all my sisters and brother. But what I'm saying, my daddy was like a gigolo. Back those days, you got 3 or 4 different kids out there. But I do thank God for my dad, because we got to know each other.
Yeah.
My mama went through some things with my daddy.
Yeah.
But, I hate she went through that. But it taught me, don't ever let a man treat you the way the things that she went through during those days. So I really thank God for that, because I got to share that with my husband.
Yeah.
And he witnessed lots of things with me.
Yeah.
And we went through a lot. And one thing I know is to keep family out of your business.
I want to say something to what you just said, because baby, they're gonna make sure keep family out your business.
No, we're gonna get to that point.
That is a collective.
We're gonna get to that point.
But I do want to, something you said though, when you first started talking, and then you repeated it again, that really just hit me, is that you thank God for your husband. You thank God for having someone that you're able to share your childhood experiences with, and you can trust it. You can trust him with that, and he knows what you will and you won't accept. Yes. And that's communication, and that leads me to the next question of how important for all of us at this table do you guys think that communication is in keeping a solid relationship? Because we talk about communicating to establish a relationship, but how important is communication in ensuring that your relationship remains solid?
Exactly.
Because like you said, people change through the years.
Yep.
Well, I honestly can say I don't think my husband changed that much. Especially as
So he always just been debonair. What you say to me?
as taking care of me. You know what I'm saying? He always protected me.
Do you think that has anything to do with the fact that you have always effectively communicated to him?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No doubt.
You know, I'm happy we're talking about this, because I wanted to bring that up too, because everything everybody was saying was relationship and building, and when you're building relationship, there has to be communication is the key. If you guys don't understand each other, which it happens a lot, I know with us when we first got married, communication was a hard thing, and it typically is, because especially if you're dealing with trauma and certain things that happened to you when you was growing up, you was a kid and all that stuff, you don't know how to expose that, or you put it in a place that you've forgotten about it. You've almost gotten rid of it, and it comes up in spaces. So So to think that your spouse or your significant other is not communicating when things start happening, that's why you have to love and to pursue what you were talking about earlier.
Yes.
When you pursue them, you're pursuing them and not the lust of the body and all that stuff. I really want to know who you are. So the more you grow in relationship, the more you begin to see, and like you were saying, as far as the change, you may be changing into something or becoming what you had left before. So as I become this thing, like that trauma that rape or whatever, that it may come back up at a point in my life that I don't know how to deal with it now, but it's coming back out. And it's important that I communicate that, but sometimes it's hard to do that. Yeah. You can't just talk about it. They don't just, so it's really painful. So now for you guys to make it through that, communication becomes a thing that's it's very tough to sit down and to really, because you got to relive it. But now you got to relive it with someone who you say that you love, that you've stood up in front of everybody and told everybody that this person, I will, and for every couple, it's not easy to sit in that room and to be fully honest about what really happened. And that is very key in communication when it comes to speaking and giving, full details on who I am and what I am. And like you were saying, I know what I wasn't going to expect. So in order for me to not get to the point that I feel like, my mom was or whoever else is, I need to be able to communicate this to this person. And whether you like me or not, you walk away. But the thing is, with a lot of people, they want companionship so bad because they see certain things in the social media. They want it so bad that they decide that I'll just deal with this. I'm not going to tell them, or I'll be okay with how they treat me or how they talking to me. And instead of communicating, saying, I don't want this. Don't tell me that. You're not going to talk to me like that. You're not going to walk over me,
I think another part of that, I had a couple friend that they made it through. They lost their 2-year-old. Mm-hmm. They had a CJ. And it was the hospital's fault, like all the kinds of stuff. Yeah. So, and like when you lose a child, something like that, the rate of your marriage lasting decreases. And so they went through a lot. Yeah. And one of the things they use for personal accountability with each other, they say, it's my job to know where I am and where I stand, to be aware of myself at all times. That's the first job. The second job is to communicate that.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then because we love each other, the person can do what I can't control you and tell you what you need to do. Yeah. But out of love, when I communicate what I need, then you respond a certain type of way. And you need to be aware of where you stand with what I said and then communicate that. And I think just for the day-to-day, not just the trauma, because I've sometimes it's the everyday stuff. That's it's not the like you knew what you were getting into here, but you're not communicating that. Hey, when you do that, that makes me feel like you're lying, or it makes me feel like you're not respecting me. And because you love that person, it's little, you let it slip by.
That's true.
And one of the things I know, even when we were. When Casey really started falling for me, and I knew it hit. Okay. I knew what time the ring was coming back. I didn't tell the people. But I was like, I know exactly. Okay. But it's true. There was a point where I was like, I'm losing trust right now. Yes. And the reason why is because I saw how important it was for him to please me. Yeah. And I started losing him saying what he wanted. Like before it was like, hey, I didn't even plan on getting married. So if I'm going to get married, it's going to be this. He was very strong on his standards and boundaries. The more we became close, the more he was compromising.
That's good.
And for me, coming from what I had been through, it's like you compromise enough, you're going to resent me. And we can't last with that. Because 20 years of you compromising is going to happen. You're going to feel emasculated. You're not going to go out with your friends. You're not going to do that. So it became a real thing of like, how do we communicate when I know out of the love you have for me, you want me to be happy? Yeah. Yes. And I appreciate that. But now I can't trust what you say when I ask you something, because I don't know if it's coming from your real place. Yeah, if it's exactly. You. So we had to get to a point, and our therapist helped us so much. But to get to a point where we had rules of engagement, so that now, and we literally, like, if it gets real hard, we're like, you ready to use the tools? And we literally start having conversations with the tools, because I needed to know that he would, I have a strong personality. I needed to know he will buck up against me still, like, and be like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Or one time he said, you telling me what to do right now. Stuff like that. He'll say, you're telling me what to do. And I'm like, you're right. I've been with the 4-year-old all day. I'm in parenting mode. I'm so sorry. Yeah. But I needed to know that was still there, so I could trust that when he says, I like this or I don't, it was real.
Yeah.
So when you fallen in love with a person for so long, we have a question here that I think is what you said segues into this. One of the questions submitted by our viewers. So how do you maintain the individual identities while being a part of a couple? Because like you said, he was falling head over heels, and so it was now I want to please you or whatever you want. So how do you make sure that you maintain your individual wants and desires and ensure that you're getting back what you're giving to your spouse?
That's good. So for us, what happened with us is we made intentional moves to make time for those things that makes our identity what it is, right? Like with me, it's music, right? So on Mondays, we're going to have Meal Music Mondays or something, you know what I mean? And then you're going to have it every week or something. So, and with you, it could be, all those things you love, baby.
We don't have enough time.
It's so much. Well, we love it. But no, it's making those intentional moves to make it happen. Right. And then, enjoy it and talk about it. Of course, communication, that plays a key too, and talk about it and love about it.
You have something on that one?
It's so much. She knows she's my number one priority. Oh, yes. Even my sons used to know how to get to me. They stop messing with their mom and then they run. And then I catch them. Oh, man. But, and they resent me to this day for it. But, it's all in love and it's all in play. They know no matter what, I'm going to take care of their mom. They have always had that reassurance because sons have a special connection to their mother. Yes. They really do. They have a special connection with their dads too. But it's just something about the first person they call whenever they're in trouble. You've seen it on all of the news and everything like that. Mama, I want my mama. I want my mama. Because that's where they came from. Yeah. She carried them. They bonded early and had a continuous bond for 9 months before they even knew. They may have known the voice or heard the voice of the father, but that connection with the mother was just so important. And so I've never resented them for that. I've always wanted them to be like that because I was like that with their mother. And that's the one thing I wanted to instill in them was how to treat a woman. Because these days they are so desecrated and devalued and afterthoughts pretty much of everything. And social media doesn't help in that aspect because of the fact that they perpetuate it. Mm-hmm. They don't really take it seriously in trying to put a priority on people's lives. They just treat women have still not gotten the same, treatment that they deserve. And that's why I'm the way I am about my wife. Whenever I sense, and it doesn't matter who it is, because we were talking about that earlier, her father sometimes would say some things that were out of the way. But now we're best friends because he sees I'm serious about his daughter. No matter what happens, he knows one thing, that she isn't good against. And when my father started saying bad things or saying things that I thought were, disrespectful or whatever, because I always respected my mother and his marriage. I'm his child. I'm supposed to do that. But at the same time, I wanted to do that because it is what I'm supposed to do. It is what was taught to me from day one, in church, at home, and everywhere else. So why not value mine the same way? I gave you that respect, so don't do that to me or and that's the example that I wanted my sons to see. We were fortunate enough to have 2 kids, and they just happened to be both boys, and my wife will never forgive me for that, but
you want to do some ponytails and some stuff, dress her up.
But, it's all right, I got one coming.
But the fact of the matter is, I wanted them to know what a treasure it is to have a mother, to have somebody that really cares about you, because everything's disposable these days, including children.
But how do you do?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, how do you do that? I know you said she's number one. Is there a place where it's like, how did you maintain your identity so you didn't fall into what was going on with your friends or still feeling like yourself, even though you're one too?
We want him to answer first, though. Then I know we taking back from you again. Because one thing we know for sure is that he loves you.
Right.
That's no doubt.
Because of what I experienced with my friends. Remember when I told you earlier how they were emasculated and they couldn't even talk to anybody who was single or that used to be their friend before they got married? Whatever. I said, I would never let that happen to me. I don't care. I love her. But at the same time, she's got to understand I had relationships before we got married. Just like I understand she had relationships with people before we got married. And so I respect that. I never asked her to leave her friends. I never asked her to stop communicating with them.
Amen.
I would leave that situation before I said anything to make her feel uncomfortable. Whatever. If I knew so-and-so was coming and I knew that that was her friend and we didn't necessarily see eye to eye or agree a lot, I would find something to do or go somewhere where I knew that situation would not escalate into something that's going to affect us, you know. But eventually, but I would still be cordial to them and I would still be nice, you know. And as time progressed and I saw that this was a serious person that was going to be in her life, then I would make small progressions towards them to have somewhat of a relationship. But my wife is so friendly to everybody that you never know who that's going to be. So I don't invest in everybody she meets.
Now you got to take the mic.
Well, one thing
So
y'all
y'all
got to
here.
know about marriage is you got to have trust. Without trust, you have nothing in your marriage. I thank God that my husband has so much trust in me. And trust me, we went through a lot.
So I have a question. I'm gonna cut you off. So is it knowing that level of trust that you all share? Is knowing that, does that make you comfortable with maintaining your individuality as while you're still a couple? Because I mean I know you, and I know you love people, and so like he was saying, you love to spend time with people. So does it get easier for you to make friends with other people and to do the things that you love doing that he may not necessarily, you know, be on the bandwagon with because of the level of trust that you know that he has for you? Does that make it easier for you to be able to do that?
Yes, it do. It make it
Okay,
more
now you can go
easy.
ahead.
Also, I share everything with my husband. Lots of people don't know that. And it's kind of funny sometimes because when I say, you know, if somebody do something to me and I cut them off, they think, well, they got something, you know, they can say. But I tell my husband everything. You know, people might not know that, but I do.
They know now.
And well, I do. We talks about everything.
And that's good.
And right now, I had to, you know, really cut some people away. If you interfering with me and my husband, it's time for you to.
Period.
You really got to
That ministry of the cutoff.
Also, you have to do that with your kids too. I mean, because you know, with your kids and stuff, my kids I got the best men you can have. They love their mama. They give me anything that I want. But, you know, it took me a while to realize that, you know, because kids gonna go on. And a lot of people, like what I was doing in my marriage, my kids tell me something. He wasn't nothing when my child said something. That's what went. You know what I'm saying? Especially with my little baby son. He would tell me stuff, and I'd come home, and he was like, baby, that ain't what happened. My son said, you know, because I know women's, they love their husband. They ain't caring about the kids. And that I saw that. So with me, my attention was on my boys. Whatever they said, I did have lots of trouble with my oldest one. But that baby boy, he used to be something else. I thank God.
I'm sorry, baby boy. You're my wife.
He used to be something else.
Used to be.
Until one day my husband sat down and he actually talked to me. And I act like I was going to work one day. And in the room, open the door. Oh, he was getting down, honey. I said, excuse me.
That son.
Oh, mama. He was like, oh, mama.
So your husband had to bring to your attention that you holding on to him for too long.
I mean, you know, the trust was there. But, you know, when you
That's a
come
good
to
point you
your
make.
kids, now this your kids. I mean, they're my pride and joy. I always have. My husband my pride, too. But, you know, my kids.
I'm about to cut you off again because listen, I don't want you to be putting my baby business out there in these streets, and then he come to me and be like, so you let my mama sit here and tell these people? But I do want to say something on this, though.
Okay.
Because you guys have been married for so long, and now you're talking about your kids and how much you invested into your kids.
Yes.
After being married for this long, you know, people's anticipation is that, oh, if your sex drive goes down or your romance,
Let me tell it.
Please tell me the camera about
Let me
that.
tell it.
Or the romance kind of dies out.
Tell it.
How do you, after 34 years of marriage with 2 kids who you put a lot of it, because you said you invested a lot of time into your kids. How do you, maintain that level of putting all that time into your children, but also making sure that the romance doesn't die after all of these years?
That's a great.
Because we trying to get there. We want to make sure that we can keep it spicy too, though.
Let me tell you something that's going to help y'all, man. I really mean this.
Come on, B.
Let me get my
I'm not an
notebook.
expert.
Hey, we got a pen right here. Go ahead and write something down. Take notes.
I'm not an expert, but I'm going to tell you what worked for me. When I first met my soon-to-be wife, and she knows what I'm about to say, I said, I love you enough to let you go.
Oh, yes.
And that's the weirdest thing somebody can say to somebody, but think about it. The more you try to hang on to something, or you try to stifle it, or you just try to grip it to the point where you suffocate it to where it gets tired of you and it doesn't want to be around you anymore because it can't breathe. It can't be free. It can't do anything. The first chance to run or the first chance to leave, they'll take it.
Yeah.
But if they see that you trust them, that you love them, and that you give them the freedom to come to you with their issues, to discuss things, to be able to be open and honest without judgment, without to be a rock or a pillow or a source of friendship and a resource that they can come to when no one else is around or when no one else will listen to them. They know they can count on you, they'll never leave.
Listen, because I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm thinking to myself, I know a lot of y'all probably expected him to say flowers and chocolates and candle lights and all of that stuff, but he said he was helping y'all men out. And as a woman, I can't speak for every woman at this table, but there's something very sexy about a man who understands that it takes beyond materials to please a woman. It takes you literally, I think one of you guys said something earlier about studying them, but like Casey wanted to be able to engineer you, really studying your spouse and getting to know them and willing to give them all of you in that regard. Yeah. Being able to say, hey, listen, if I got to let you go for you to be happy, that's what I'll do. That shows me that, and don't say this the wrong way, you care. I hate to say you care more about my happiness than yours, but you care so much about my happiness that you're willing to even sacrifice yours. And if I care the same way about you, I would not let you do that.
Yeah.
And that's how you know you got the right one, though.
Yeah. And all of that is true. But I will say our situation is very different too, because having had sexual trauma as a kid and all that, and I grew up very young, seeing everybody I knew cheated on somebody. Yeah. Everybody. Pastors, I'm 67 years old, knowing who's cheating on whatever. And 6 or 7 at this time. 6, 7. Yeah, no. Right. Yeah, we look good over here. No, I was 6 or 7 years old. But I also knew that there were like grown men that I knew at a very young age that were pursuing young kids. So I'm 12 years old, 11, knowing that, and I'm hearing them say stuff like, okay, well, yeah, my wife don't, everything I do is wrong, or da-da-da-da. And they were going after us young girls to have the conversations, to have someone to listen to them, to feel like a man and not feel emasculated and all that. So at a very young age, I was learning from society that if you don't do these things for your man, if you don't talk, and let them say whatever. And if you're not having sex a certain amount of times, they're going to cheat on you. Wow. And I would have women say, well, you have to have, I was kind of trained, you need every 3 days, you need to do this, or, blah, blah, blah. Y'all need to be having sex every 3 days. Y'all need to have. So I had a very high of standard of what we need to do, as far as sexual intimacy. Whereas when we got together, Kason had done so much work on undoing the person he was in his past. And objectifying and just sex being sex and just doing all this, da-da-da. So there'll be times where he'll be like, what's going on? Like what makes you, I feel like you are anxious for like sex right now. I feel like you, like what's going on? And he's like, if you feel like we haven't had sex, you know, in whatever time or whatever, what we're not going to do is just do that first.
Exactly.
He was like, and so it was like almost like a flip. Like, then that means there's something else. That means we need to focus on intimacy somewhere else. That means we're not having enough conversation. That means we need to like go on a date. But what we're not going to do is you got a clock talking about, okay, now you think
Routine.
yeah, because I thought
that's what it was all about.
right. And so I would become anxious. Like, this means we're going to get a divorce. This means you're going to cheat. This means if we don't do this many times, like all of that. Like, I need to be all of these things in order to keep you here. And I had learned this in and out the church, mostly in. And in the military community, then I would hear like when the man leave, this is all women, I'm telling y'all, and family, everything. Because my whole family. When they go overseas, you get what you need to get. And they getting what they need to get over there. And then when you come back, you're married again.
You heard it all. Yeah.
Wow.
Right? So I was very much like in that headspace. And so he had to kind of retrain me to say, that's not it. I'm not going anywhere. Where are you right now? And if we're going to do, you know, when we do what we do, it's going to be intimate. It's going to be real. It's going to be a connection. Because I'm not about to undo all the work I did before we got romantic.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because you feel like you my wife and I got to. No. And that was a real thing for me.
But was it because you felt like you were his wife, or and you had to, or was it more so the fear of, if I don't as his wife, then he's gonna go somewhere else to do it?
I think both. And I think for me, I never really had a relationship that was as intimate as ours was. So I was very afraid. Like, what happens if sex ain't good? What happens if we don't have it? What happens if, you know, all of those things were like real concerns for me. And then coming from a long line of family members and people who had just cheated, I was also concerned about me. These are conversations we have. I'm like, I don't know people who just, you know, like, I don't want to be anything in the past. I don't want to be anything I've seen. I don't want to be. So I think
You thought that was life.
there
That's
was,
what it's supposed to be
it's a
like.
mix of that. Like a fear of myself, a fear of him, a fear of, you know, I was told that as a wife, I mean, these people in the church
You're
talking about
not the only
Titus
one.
2
I'm saying, like,
ministries.
that's a society
Like, it
thing.
was a rule. Titus 2, every 3 days, you had to do this for your man. You know, and so I think that was a little bit of both. And now being pregnant, you know, and things changing, like, he made it safe to be like, babe, we still have intimacy. We still can do, you know what I mean? So it's been a beautiful journey for me realizing
You still beautiful, and he
and
still
how
love
to
you
center
regardless.
stuff. Now, I love him.
Yes.
And, you know, I say you got to have confidence. That's what I say. But that's the whole different. You got to be bold in the bedroom. He'd be so embarrassed. But I do believe in trying, you know.
Just trying.
And, you know, there ain't no shame in the game.
I got a question for the table since we're going this way, and I think not that way.
Not that way, but this way.
But because it's important though, based on what you guys have said so far, and I think it's probably a question that the viewers have too. With all of you guys have said, how do you build trust? Then, if that's the case, how do you build trust in a relationship? How do you build trust when you're brand new and you're starting and you're getting to know somebody? How do you build trust when you're where we are? How do you build trust when you're that? And when I say trust, I mean like not the watered down trust. I mean like trust to where I know if I go to Mexico and my wife ain't there, I'm good because I know where she's at. I know what I'm doing.
Right.
How do you get to that point to where nobody can influence me or convince me to do something that I know is contrary to the union here? How do you get to that?
I think it goes, okay.
The way because I know how it worked for me, right? Is the biggest fear it might be is to open up yourself, your heart, right? That's the only way is you let them in, and vice versa. It has to be a two-way street because that's the only way trust even works. You know, is the two-way street. But you have to open yourself up. Have that vulnerability against each other or with each other, and if it's only one sided, you're never gonna have it. You know what I mean? So
That's good.
I also think it goes back to what's been a common theme throughout the whole evening as we've been talking is that it really goes back to communication.
Yeah.
Trust is built through communication and honest. Let me be clear with that. Honest communication, letting your spouse know what you will and you won't accept. Then listening to what they will and they won't accept, and then in turn saying, this is what I will and I won't do. And then after we've communicated that verbally, the other aspect of communication I think a lot of people don't take thought in is the nonverbal communication and the actions that we take. I'm not just saying this is what I will and I won't take. You only got one time to try it. And the response lets you know I'm not accepting that. Like, you know, or me telling you that I'm not gonna do this to you after so long and you're not doing this to me. That's when the trust begins to build. Like, these weren't just words that you said.
Yeah.
I'm watching you continue to not do those things to me, or I'm watching you continue to make sure that my needs are being taken care of, that my wants and my desires are being something that is a priority for you. Like, it open and honest communication, verbally and non-verbally. I believe that's how you establish that level of trust.
Non-verbally.
34.
They 34 now.
34. We got
34.
34 looking like we done gave y'all a whole lot of advice tonight now.
Yeah, listen. Don't talk to your family.
No, and that's good.
I take that.
I'm got to come back around to that.
It's good. What I'm gonna say is that I see y'all finna have another kid now. Y'all on y'all second one now. Praise God on that. But I just learned that, during the relationship of being married, that we got to realize the kids gonna grow up and they gonna move out. So, you got to keep the trust, even though these your kids. Where I feel that I messed up in my marriage is that, even though I trusted my husband, when it came to them saying something, the kids would always play.
That's good.
So, I had to learn to, when they come and ask me
We done now.
I had to learn to, did you ask your daddy? So, because they would play us with each other.
Yeah.
And I had to actually learn that after, with my baby son, I had to start to get it right, And that's where a little bit of my downfall was with them and stuff. And then, with family, I wanted to say, y'all newlywed, and I want to say to y'all is, as long as y'all keep the spark going in y'all marriage, y'all two, and keep the family out of your business, and please take 1 or 2 days a week. It's just y'all. Just spend time together and just, go out to dinner, do things. There has been time that me and my husband have been through some things, and I really want to thank these two lovely couple here, Prophet Carter and Minister Carter, because, like I said, you keep it between y'all, and they didn't even know that they was just helping us, just being around them, seeing how they act, because that's how we used to be. And, I see things was going a little rough there, but being around that, they help our marriage out a whole lot.
I love what you just said. I love what you just said.
You have to be around couples.
Yes.
People that's gonna encourage you, because there's lots of times I come to Prophet Carter, I say this and that, and then I say, wait a minute, they have to talk to me about this and that, even though they was younger than me. Just because somebody younger than you, that don't mean you can't take advice from them. So I just really thank God. I really look up to them, and I always told them, y'all need to do some marriage ministry. Y'all need to do this and that, because I really needed it, and stuff. Because, you get so used to people telling you this and with me, never been out of Ronald Robbins and, going in Germany, and you see people coming over to your house and you in the military with black eyes. Girl, what happened to you? My husband hit me. Your husband hit you?
Not me.
Other
No, she talking to somebody else.
It's like,
Just top streaker.
I'm just saying, anytime you being married and, you got a husband that lay their hands on you, baby, that's not love.
Yeah.
So I think that's what helped me a whole lot with my husband, is that, he never laid his hands on me. He was like, you know what? I love you enough, honey, to let you go. And I realized what I had. I could have lost this great man of God. But it took me a while to realize, and we separated for a while. I went to my mom and dad's house. I went to beg this man to come back to me, honey.
So how did y'all? So after y'all separated, because we're talking about trust, how did y'all reestablish and rebuild that
that's
trust?
good.
We're talking about how to
Here we
maintain the
go.
trust,
Here we
but
go.
there are times when
Be
trust
simple.
is broken. How do you rebuild that?
You know what? I guess the love that we have for each other. It was, you know, we realized lots of little things and stuff. And, you know, when you really love each other and you got a man that respect you a whole lot and stuff, you know, you learn to deal with the situation. I mean, it was hard, you know, some folks, you know, it was so easy to forgive. And you know what, people, they kind of look at me like, yeah, I don't know what he went back to her for, you know, she wasn't no good, she this and she that. And it wasn't even about me. But nobody never know that, they just assume it's her. I know it's her. But you know what I have right here, I love this man to life and back. And I would trust him with anything. I'm telling you. I really think.
I want to know both of y'all on this though. By the way,
I gotta be.
I want to know if it was hard. Like, how hard was it?
It was.
We could
But because of the God in him, you know, even
so I want to hear from him though. How?
You sure you feel that? That's a legitimate question, because you're absolutely right. Once the trust has been broken, it has to be rebuilt. And the way it gets rebuilt is getting back to the basics of the things we used to do. Before we got married, we used to stay on the phone for hours and talk to each other. Now, here's the thing. When we were separated, we had more to talk about because we experienced a lot together. We experienced children, we experienced life, we experienced growing up. Because from 34 years ago up until whatever time we got separated, we grew up then. We were different people. We had grown. Sometimes people grow apart. Sometimes people just grow up. And what it was our expectations had changed. And reality set in. And we realized that, hey, you know, we took vows. It's not even about us. We stood up before God and we told him that for better, for worse, and sickness and health. And when you think about all of the things that transpired in those years leading up to that point, you can't replace that. You either learn from it or it just devastates you. And we just kept talking to each other. And then eventually the friendship got renewed. Just like before when we first met. We started out as best friends. We didn't just jump into the marriage like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette and all these other stupid shows that come on.
I know, right?
Find love and all that. That's not even real.
TD.
You know, we went through a courtship again, rediscovered each other because we had to rebuild. Some people call it a rebuild, but actually it was building something new.
yes.
You know, doing away with the past, forgiving each other for that, whatever it was. And
Never bring it up.
And, you know, you can choose to remember it, but if it's not going to edify the relationship or it's not going to do anything to enhance it, you know, let it go. Let it go. Because from this point on is what matters. And so the trust is either rebuilt or renewed, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
And from that point on, it's about now, the here and now. Because the here and now is what's going to determine the future.